episodes in so far, with 2 more releasing next week. I got some really good interviews coming up. Went to a BiggerPockets event this week where their meetup and my meetup kind of collaborated on the podcast host coming to town. We jumped on their bandwagon. We have a meetup that was going on that night, and so we decided to send all of our people over there, and I picked up 2 new house hacking interviews who have some really cool stories, and so I'm super excited about that. But the whole purpose is so that beginners to intermediate investors can really hear from normal investors. We're not trying to go after the guys who have 20,000 units and they're 18 years old and they're making $10 million a month. Like, those stories are great. Do not get me wrong. Do not get it twisted. Those are great stories. They're inspirational, but they're not very attainable for your average person, including myself. I'm not 18 and own 20,000 units. That's not me. So that's a lot of the feedback that I get from these bigger podcasts. They bring on the younger with the most units. That gets the clicks, but your average user can't actually take action on that kind of information. And so we're creating something where we can provide normal, awesome stories, and then the team will if you're not familiar with house hacking, and any questions that come in, I'll answer, of course. We're going to focus on house hacking right now. And if you're not familiar with house hacking, so house hacking is where you buy a property to live in, and then you rent part of that property. So what it looks like is you buy a single-family house to live in, and you rent out the basement. You rent out some rooms in the property. That's called having a roommate, but it's strategic. So you're going into your property purchase with the idea that you're renting out part of that property. And I'm compiling a video right now that is like 20 ways to house hack, because it's not just having a roommate. Everybody assumes that it's either a duplex or roommates, and that's it. There's literally 18 other ways to skin this cat. So you buy a house, rent, make a basement unit, rent out a basement. You buy a house, you Airbnb all the other bedrooms that you don't live in. You buy a duplex, you live in one side and you rent out the other side. You buy a triplex, same thing. You live in one unit, rent out the other 2. Quadplex, live in one unit, rent out the other 2. There are ways to house hack where you rent out your garage, where you rent out extra space in your basement. You rent out the backyard for RVs. You rent out your garage for a semi-pro NASCAR team. That's what one of my clients did. And so there's a bunch of different ways to do it. It's exciting because it offsets some or all of your mortgage payment. So if your mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, but you have the other side of the duplex rented out, and they're paying $1,800 a month, but you're only paying $1,200 to live in this property. So there's a bunch of lending benefits, tax benefits, and affordability. Like affordability, I think is just going to become worse and worse. Everybody's going to be talking about it more and more. As properties get more expensive, interest rates go up, your average entry-level buyer is not going to be able to afford to live in Denver or Portland or San Francisco or Boston. And so house hacking is a way to get into these markets and invest and kick off that entire process. Whether you want to be a full-time investor or if you just want to invest on the side, house hacking is probably the best way to make that money go furthest and reap the most benefits. And so, buying a rental and then renting your own property is, this thing will go away here in a second. It always shows up in the worst times, but buying a rental and then renting your own property, you're basically, that's a good way to get started. You might have $300 that $300 a month cash bill, you're offsetting your living expenses by a certain amount. The first three guests that I've talked to so far, actually five coming out next week, they're all living there for free. And depending on the strategy, key, Airbnb, house walking, so obviously, but when he's gone, it covers the entire mortgage. Dan has a basement bedroom, basement unit, that covers the entire mortgage. And of course, Kim, in episode 1, her unit, her duplex unit next door, that pays for the entire mortgage. So what could you do if you didn't have a housing payment for a year or 2 or 3? There's so much that you can do if you're saving that much money to go into the next project. So a lot of house hackers are serial house hackers. They go into the next property, into the next one, into the next one. And so, and then some of them, they buy one, then they go and get married. They don't want a house hack anymore. And so they turn their house hack into a rental, and they go buy a property with their spouse or fiance or whoever. So that is the strategy in a nutshell. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Let's get started with some Q&A. All right, here we go. The Financial Diet asks, I'm interested in house hacking with friends. What are the potential benefits and challenges of this approach? Now, let me think. So, I'm an agent also in Denver. I've helped over 2,000 house hackers get place and find their property, go through the whole process. I'd say most of them had friends that were coming with them. So, people that they were already living with in a roommate scenario, or who had friends who were coming to town, didn't want to move over, right? And some that, you know, they knew that their cousin was buying a house that they didn't have any pay rent. So each one of these had friends come along. So the benefits, the good thing is that you have built-in renters, and everybody gets along. That could be just a really good early way to keep the process going. Some of my house hackers, they took all of their roommates and lived together in the house. They all wanted to stay together. So that's the downside is just like this is a relationship show, but there are going to be issues that come up when you're renting with friends. You're kind of mixing business with friendship, and that could be great. You and friends, everything like that. So the interpersonal problem, I would say, is something that you make sure that you have locked down and that you're not ruining friendships over it's better than strangers, I would say. I mean, I'm 44 and I don't want to live with roommates. Sometimes I don't want to live with dogs or some days my teenager, I don't want to live with him. That's good. But I would choose friends over strangers, but I understand why some people don't. Some people want to live in the master bedroom and Airbnb those 2 other rooms in their house. They just have a keypad lock on the door. They don't know the people. They don't care. Some people want to live in the house. So I would say focused on work. You might see them in the kitchen for lunch, and this is obviously a roommate scenario. In almost any other house hacking scenario, whether you're renting out your basement, you're renting out your side of your duplex, triplex, quadplex, you shouldn't see or hear from your tenants while you're doing this work. The only thing I can think of is if you're doing Airbnb or Verbo, that 3 o'clock check-in might need a little bit of attention. If you're working 9 to 5, you have a 3 p.m. check-in on your listing of that might be a small reduction but otherwise, it should be very all remote working or your remote working and the others in your unit are coming and going or having normal schedules. I have seen where people are doing midterm rentals and the person who's midterm renting is and again, unless it's a really big house, you shouldn't have any problems with this person. But it's a good question because I think that there's a scenario or a time where people were used to just people being gone and they remote work, they would use that time to do normal stuff without the roommates or whatever. But anyways, let's get to another question. Okay, let's go good. House hacking just a stepping stone, or can it be a long-term wealth building strategy? Mandy, this is a great question. I'm going to say it's both because everybody has different goals in this business, of course, but you just need affordability and being able to buy a single family home in your basement. That could be a stepping stone to owning your single family home. And then later on, once you build up the cash flow, maybe you're progressing in your career, you're making more money, there could be a stepping stone there to not needing that extra unit. Most of my house hacking client changes have come from moving in their life. So like a life event. So having a child, getting married, moving to work. Those are the reasons why they've changed over into house hacking scenario. But there are options there where you're house hacking, you have 2 bedrooms upstairs, you have 2 bedrooms downstairs, you're house hacking the basement. But in the meantime, you've gotten married, you're about to have a child, you need a room, but you've also progressed in your career, now you have 2 incomes. You can actually just convert that downstairs unit back into your house and just create one for yourself. And you use that 1, 2, 3, 4 years of having a house hack to springboard you and get you there faster, either paying down debt or just saving that amount of money, buying other investments. It's a very good stepping stone for that. But as a long-term wealth building strategy, it's even better. I think it's underrated. Unless you know people in the, who have done it, or you're somebody like me who works with health hackers on a regular basis. So, that strategy for long-term wealth building, you buy that first property, you house hack it, and most of the time, my clients are saving up their entire amount that they're saving on their rent on their property to put into the next property. And so after a year, sometimes as soon as like 9 months to a year, they are ready to get on to their next house hack. So what they do is they've saved up that money for the down payment on their next property. They go out and find a new property, put that money down, get into that house hack, and they turn the first house hack love your life, go and get married, you guys want to go move into a property close to the city, away from the city, wherever, put that money down into that new property. Turn your current rental, so you're putting top one rental, rent it by the room, put it on Airbnb. Take that, move into your new house. Now you have cash flowing here that has tax benefits, cash flow, and even with just doing it once, you're better off than not doing it at all. So, good question, Mandy. That is yes, yes to both. Stepping stone that is now, or it can be a long-term goal. Somebody got it from the game. Okay. So, kind of in line with what we had. Airbnb versus traditional tenants. Which should I consider for the house hack? And what are the implications for you? So, these are two very different strategies. Mainly because there's a lot more work that goes into Airbnb, short-term rentals, than just a long-term rental. So long-term rental, usually you clean the property, leave it vacant, unfurnished. You go through the vetting process of vetting new tenants on applications, put the ad out there, you put it out on Facebook Marketplace, you put it out on your property manager, whatever that looks like. And then it's a lot of upfront work. So you vet your tenants, choose one, get them in there, they get settled. Unless something goes wrong, or they're doing something wrong, you shouldn't hear from them mostly at all, right? So it's kind of just, I know guys who self-manage like 30 units on their own, and they don't hear from half of their tenants ever. Like until so generally a little bit of work up front, rent out the unit, unless something goes wrong, long-term tenant. Short-term, a lot of work up front, and then there's a lot of work as you go. So the work up front is obviously getting the for Airbnb. This will be furnishing the unit, so budget in an extra anywhere from $4,000 on a small Airbnb upwards of $10,000-$15,000 on a large, large house, large like 3-bedroom. It can get pretty expensive, and depending on if you want to hit that higher clientele, higher rental amount, you might have to put a nice couch in there. You might have to put a nice dining room table in there. You might have to furnish it with nice pots and pans and 2 or 3 nice big TVs, and set up the streaming service, and set up the internet, and set up everything so that the people can just walk right in. They have toilet paper, they have paper towels, they have a nice booklet of places to go. You have to do pictures for that listing on Airbnb. You want professional pictures so that you can entice people to come in. You have to do a pricing strategy, so making sure that you're pricing set up that's highly recommended so that you're not texting. is easy, but the short-term rental is 10 times the work. It's a lot more upfront money on furnishing the property, but the payoff is where it really comes through and shines. Buying a multi-unit property sounds scary. What legal and financial hurdles do I feel? Okay. Yeah, multi-family or a multi-unit property comes with a lot of different issues. It comes with usually a higher I'd say most of these shops look like a duplex. But definitely they go for $300,000. So add that up on a fourplex, so it can be absolutely. I agree with this. So legal ramifications or legal hurdles. So as long as you have leases in place, there's not a lot of craziness that goes on with the legal difference between the have that. Your insurance, making sure that your insurance is covered for the 4 units, 3 units, whatever. That's good for them to know. Hey, I'm going to be buying this fourplex. I'm going to live in one area and rent out the rest. What does that look like for insurance? Liability? What is that? Since you're an owner-occupant property, you're not typically going to have it in a LLC. Kind of more legal protection. But the financial hurdles, this is something that I talked about on. There's actually some financial benefits to having a property, and that comes with if I'm buying a single family house I am not going to be able to take that potential rental and use it towards my mortgage approval. So when I get my mortgage approval, it goes off my income. In a scenario where I can use the potential rental income, they take 75% of what those units would rent for and use it for your own income. So if that's an extra $2,000, they say, well, you make $90,000 a year plus this $2,000 a month, and now you can actually qualify for a little bit more than you own. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, financial hurdles, it's just a bigger property, more units, more kitchens, more bathrooms. So renovation costs definitely go way up. So if you're looking at financial hurdles, renovating a fourplex is a much different equation. Depending on the structure, the roof is bigger, the outside is bigger, the landscaping is bigger, everything just gets bigger. So not only is it higher price, more down payment, you need to qualify for more renovation costs. There's more if anything goes wrong. So just keep that in mind. Rent out a single family. Those are kind of the financial hurdles of what that looks like on a fourplex. All right, everybody take houses, like, you can really just afford out that's viable too. I've had clients who bought 2 bedroom condos, live in one room, rent out the other room. That's house hacking all day long. It does. I was talking earlier about that probably narrows down to like 2 or 3 different ways to house hack if you don't have this extra space to rent out even if you're in a building, you buy a super urban environment. Not everybody has cars, but your unit has a deeded spot down in the garage. There are, in those buildings, there are message boards where people will rent that space all day long. I've had it with clients in kind of the Denver Tech Center area here in town. High-end building, condos are $800,000 or higher, and there's still people out there saying, if you have an extra spot in the garage, I will pay you $200, $300, $400 a month, no problem. And in super urban environments, parking spots go for the rent of some houses, some house payments in some areas. So there might be some other plays there, but in urban environments, you know, a duplex is ideal. But if it's super urban, buying a condo, even rent, even if you have to do like a rent house hack, you really stretch and you rent out a 3-bed. There are people in those areas that are not affected for $1,200, $1,500 a month. So that rent is $3,500 a month. You're just the guy. You're the one who's charging them market rate. $3,500. It might be more than that, but $3,500. Have 2 roommates. They're paying you $1,500 each. All of a sudden, you're collecting $3,000. You're only paying $500. If you could buy, obviously there's a lot more benefits there with appreciation and tax benefits, but there are definitely ways, Katie, to get through the urban life for house hacking. This is pretty similar. Alright. James asks, my partner and I dream of owning a home where traditional mortgages daunting. I hear you, brother. Is house hacking a realistic option for couples? So this is one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast. So far I've been talking long as you're okay with any of these scenarios, so we're going to pick on the basement unit. Dan has a basement unit. The guy in Utah, his name is absolutely just disappearing, so I apologize about that. But he also has this basement unit scenario where you dream of owning a home that traditional mortgage is gone. So the way to offset that, buy a ranch, live on the top, separate units. You have to, have limits. Your spouse will just do that way too. I have clients who bought in Capitol Hill here in Denver. They lived in the basement. There was like a small one bed downstairs. They lived in the basement. It was a Victorian house up above. 4 bedrooms, beautiful, 1800, late 1800s Victorian. Small little basement. They just lived in the basement, Airbnb'd the top. They did that for about a year and a half. That top paid like 2 times the mortgage. And they were okay living in the basement while they're saving up their entire housing payment plus cash flow to move on to the next one. So as long as your spouse is on board, house hacking absolutely realistic option. Because there's so little equity in the property that if you default on that property, they have some sort of recourse, or they can at least, it's kind of like gap insurance on a new car or on a leased car or something. The mortgage company is taking a risk by having you put so little down. So if you default on that mortgage and they have to take the property back, they're going to be upside down. You bought at $400,000. You put 3.5% down. Now they have to take back the property plus all the fees and everything that go along with taking back the property. And they can only sell it for $400,000. Let's just say that they can sell it for $400,000. They're going to be taking a loss. just with agent fees, they're going to be taking a loss on that. So they basically force you to take out an insurance policy against that amount or against that insurance. So this could be $100 a month, $200 a month, $300 a month. It depends on your credit score, but it is an extra payment. So you have your principal payment, your interest payment, taxes, your insurance, so your PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, that encompasses your entire mortgage payment. Well, if you have an FHA or similar low down loan program, you have those 4 PITI plus one more. That's your private mortgage insurance or PMI. So you have this amount to pay plus an extra $200 a month. And if you have an HOA on top of that, FHA plus some sort of down payment assistance. So in my market, we have CHAPA, Colorado Housing Authority, where they will pay. You have to get an FHA loan, but they will pay for your down payment. So that's now becomes 0% for you. There are a bunch of caveats to that, but if you don't get an FHA loan, they won't be able to do down payment assistance. So those are all the kind of pros. If you can even swing like a 5 or 10% down payment, just get a conventional loan and don't pay their PMI. That's going to be, obviously there's a higher credit threshold, there's a higher payment threshold, but if you can save that by having mortgage insurance, that would be ideal. But I understand there's ways to finance this thing. So a lot of people do go through FHA because it is a first-time buyer with low down payment. So if it is your first property, then yeah. Another benefit to FHA is there is what's called an FHA 203K. This is renovation through FHA. This is, you're going to want to find an agent who knows how to do these because they're not common. If you find a fixer-upper and you want to get an FHA loan on it, the FHA 203K is the way to go. What they do is you have to jump through a ton of hoops in order to renovation money. It's a big process. Contractors, you have to submit the underwriter. The appraisal has to make sure that the house is more than what you're buying for, plus the renovation costs, and that you're still within the FHA thresholds there. And the downside to FHA is property condition. So this is going to you're going to say, like, wait, you're just talking about things like property FHA. That's with the 203K. But a traditional FHA loan, the property has to be in some kind of good condition, decent condition. So an FHA appraiser will come through and they will look at a bunch of things that a conventional appraiser will look at. So if there are missing outlet covers, holes in the wall, even bad carpet, and a stove. So this is an interesting one. If you are buying if you're buying a property and it doesn't have a stove, and you're getting an FHA loan, they are going to make you put a stove in there. Have the appraiser go back to the property before you can close it. And that's just the stove. So if there are holes in the wall, if there are missing outlet covers, if there's any kind of health, safety issues like that, obviously missing outlet covers, talking about hazards, bad carpet or tripping hazards. I've seen things called like a little railing on a stair, 2 or 3 stairs down to get to the garage. If there's not a railing there, the FHA appraiser can call you. You can't close until somebody puts a railing there. And so there are little things like that. I've seen carpet called bad condition of the carpet. They want these things like semi-move-in ready because they're putting so little down that they want to make sure that these things are, don't have to put like $100,000 into it in order to move into it. So those are kind of the pros and cons on FHA. So hopefully answered your question there. And yeah, if you guys have any feedback, any questions, anything on this, anything that you want to talk about next time, please let me know. Always hear the feedback. Messages. And yeah, so down in the description there are some tools that I use every single week inside my real estate business. I just got off the phone today with another company who I work with who wants to work with us on getting their name out there for market analysis. So if you're analyzing Cleveland, Ohio, you have a tool now. So I'm going to be adding that very soon. All of the tools that I use inside a real estate business, and that's going to be growing every single month. These are the best. I'm not just putting them out there because they might pay me. Some of them don't. some of them do